Hello everyone, welcome to Murder House. I'm really excited today. What I'm about to tell you is the most popular story from my tribe. You see, beauty for most people is a quality or group of qualities in a person or thing that brings pleasure to the senses or mind. In my tribe, she had a name. Her name was Chabien. The elders say beauty cannot fill the belly. Beauty has no friends. Beauty will not guard your door or hold your hand when the world ends. Long ago, there was a girl named Chabien. In the whole of Tarok land, there was no one else that matched her beauty. Everyone knew who she was, and there is no man who wouldn't have wanted her for a bride. She knew it too, and loved that she could walk through the streets every day and people would stand and stare at her. They would do anything they could to get her attention. They would think of all the nicest things to say to her. Sometimes she would play games with them, but she was not interested in any of them. Secretly, she loved to see what her beauty could do, knowing that her looks could protect her from any harm. This was enough to even make other women dislike her. But she didn't care about the trouble it may cause for others. They were just jealous that they weren't born with this gift. Her beauty could give her anything she wanted, and no one could keep it from her. She still hadn't seen any other woman that matched her. In fact, no other thing in all her life was enough to compare with her. When she was old enough to get married, many men would line up at her door, bringing gifts from all over the land. If someone brought something unique, other men would try to bring something even better, whether they had to hunt it, farm it, build it, or craft it. Her parents were there by her side to give advice, and they gave many knowing she wouldn't listen to them. She didn't see any of the men having anything that was enough for her, and even worse, none of them looked handsome enough for her. And if she couldn't see anything that was worth her love, then none of them deserved it. And so she rejected them all. That is, until the day things changed. A man walked into her home. Even though many men were talking and pleading their case for her hand in marriage, it seemed like even from a distance, it's almost like all she could see was him. He didn't need to say a word, and he had her full attention. She was fully satisfied with everything she could see. Not just him, but what he brought. He was rich, he was strong, and he was handsome in ways that none of the other men could compare. And they knew it. When he finally spoke to her and her family, it's almost like everyone knew it was over. She had found the one. He spoke so well, like he knew everything she wanted to hear. This stranger, no, this handsome man from. Where did he say he was from again? Oh, he was from far, far away, across 7 hills, 7 valleys, and 7 rivers. She had made her choice. It didn't matter as much to her father. She seemed happy. But her mother wasn't so sure. She asked her daughter to be cautious and not be swayed by what she sees alone. If her daughter was going to decide, she wanted her to do something first. Chabien needed to spend some time with him. Her mother then gave her a needle and said, when he wasn't looking or when he was asleep, this was very important. She should use the pin and prick his skin. If blood came out of the wound, then it was fine. She could go ahead and marry him. But if she saw pus come out of the wound, then she needed to forget about everything immediately. Chabien agreed and spent some time with the young man. With each word he spoke, she fell deeper in love. With each story he told, she imagined adventures of their own. Finally, when he fell asleep next to her, she took out the needle her mother gave her and pressed it on his smooth, beautiful skin, confident of what she was going to see. But what came out was pus. No, there had to be an explanation. Maybe he had a wound on the spot that she pressed. After all, he traveled really far to be there for her. She could try again and be sure. Oh, but she didn't want to. Even though what she saw bothered her, she didn't want to disturb his rest. And she didn't imagine that he would be pleased to wake up and see his smooth body covered with needle holes. Even worse for her, she didn't want to imagine a future without this man that came into her life. So, she took the needle and pricked her own skin instead, taking the blood that came out and showing it to her mother as evidence. Now that her mother was satisfied, her wishes could be granted, and all was well with the world. But the story doesn't end here. The day of their wedding finally came, and it was a spectacle in her village. Chabien was married, everyone said. The whole village looked at this perfect couple and let their imaginations run wild with what kind of future they would have ahead of them and what kind of children they would bear. As they left the borders of her village, Chabien could hear her people's voices fade away into the distance. She didn't need to cry. Her future was going to be an adventure with her husband next to her. Wherever they would go, or whomever they would meet, he was strong. He would protect her. They crossed 7 hills, 7 valleys, and 7 rivers until they reached a peculiar forest. It was darker than any she had ever seen. When they entered, she felt uneasy and told him so. He smiled, putting her at ease, and told her to rest a bit while he went to look for more supplies, as they were almost at their new home. This made her happy, and so she waited and waited and waited till she heard rustling behind a bush nearby. At this point in our story, it's important that I tell you about something else. In Tarok land, there is a beast that strikes fear into the hearts of people. It's known to devour victims whole with no compassion or remorse. It is neither spirit nor physical, but it hungers for human flesh, and it is evil. It is known to have a variety of abilities, and one of those abilities is shape-shifting, the ability to take the form of anything around you, including other people. But the main features about it are its huge size with pitch black hair, a mouthful of teeth, and a permanent flame burning on its behind. That's funny, isn't it? But if it was running towards you, you would never have the time to laugh. Now, when the bush rustled near Chabien, this was the beast that she saw running towards her. Even with the panic rising in her, it was easy to recognize from its unique features. A huge creature with pitch black hair, a mouthful of teeth, and a flame that is constantly burning around its rear. Chabien fled. She fled that forest immediately. She couldn't tell if she was hallucinating or she heard the voice of her new husband calling out to her as she ran for her life. It couldn't be. It couldn't have been the creature calling out to her with the sweet voice of her husband. She ran. Across 7 hills, she ran. Across 7 valleys, she ran. Across 7 rivers, she ran. Not stopping as the creature hunted her every step of the way. She ran until she was able to evade the beast and get back to her village. There, she collapsed and begged her parents to help her. It didn't take too long for the villagers to rise up and gather their weapons to face the beast at the border, asking for his wife to be returned to him. It took a great deal of effort, but they were able to bring the beast down. Some of the villagers had faced it before. All of them had heard of it, but none of them would ever forget that day and the battle that ensued. The story was passed on, flowing like a river through time, to get to you, listening right now. As for Chabien, she was never the same since that experience. It wouldn't matter if you sympathized with her or made fun of her. She withdrew from everyone and never opened up again, not even for love or marriage. And the elders say, beauty cannot fill the belly. Beauty has no friends. Beauty will not guard your door or hold your hand when the world ends. Oh, before I forget, the beast that attacked her, the one that took the face of her husband, it's known as the Zhiritak. Have a nice day.